I swear to God. You'd think I'd be like Ray with this fucking technology shit. Man. I'm such a fucking noob.
Through the years, we all remember when we first witnessed a national tragedy. We remember the good times and the bad times through either a song, a TV show, a monumental sports achievement, or even the smell of a particular food from when we were young. Welcome to the show that will take you on a journey through time to relive those iconic moments. Welcome to RTW Rewind, where old school rules. So, without any further delay, let's introduce you to the host of the show, Rad Rob, Rob Francois.
Hey guys, welcome back to RTW Rewind. I am your host, Radicalized Rob, Rob Francois. I have a first-time guest here on the Rewind. He's right up there with Jargo about for record number of podcasts in a week. I wouldn't call him a podcast whore like Jargo, but he's getting right up there. It's the Vet Jaime Williams. Vet, I've been wanting to do a show with you forever. Ray told me that you were big leaguing me, and then you didn't want to do a show with me. And then last week on the NXT Next Level Review show, you actually came out and said that wasn't true, and you wanted to do a show with me. So I got some heat with Ray for telling me that you didn't want to do a show with me. But what's up, buddy? It's good to have you here.
Oh, thanks. Wow. Yeah, I don't know about Ray sometimes. I feel like he selfishly wanted to keep me, real close to the vest and just didn't want to let me spread my wings, so to speak. But I'm interested in working with anybody that's interested for the most part. So, of course, yeah, I want to be a part of this. Boy, did you ever pick a topic for us to get? I got to be at work in 5 hours, so I hope that we can get enough get this all wrapped up and put to bed by then. We
should have enough time.
Barely. I think if we just talk sports comedies and leave it at that, I think we'll be able to fit it in.
I mentioned it when we were trying to come up with a topic for the show. I had mentioned that there's quite a few, I guess you'd call them cult classic comedies that I'm not really a big fan of, and I'll probably get heat from the chat for it. But the number one on my list, I don't think I like any of their movies. It's Monty Python movies.
Oh,
Monty Python and the Holy Grail is like right up there as movies that I don't like, and I don't know if it's just British humor. But no, not a fan at all. I suppose you are.
Yeah, I like Monty Python. I don't love everything they do. I think, but Holy Grail, has got to be somewhere on my list. I got some visual aids, Rob, just so that people don't think I'm a poser, okay, or that I'm not about what I'm talking about. It's the thing, like, if there's anything I know about more than wrestling, it's cinema. So you got yourself a hell of a guest here today, buddy.
Well, I mean, you're great at everything. So I mean, that's regardless.
Stop it.
Oh, really? I mean, what can't that do? Honestly.
Well, there's plenty of things, but the key, Rob, is to disguise and never talk about those things. Okay, that's the key. That's the key to life, or to have people think that, to respect you for your knowledge and everything, is to just never talk about the things you don't know about. It's a brilliant move. But yeah, I like Monty Python just because, and their humor is not. It's not on what you would call like a. It's not like you could just say, oh, this is just British humor, because British humor ain't like this. Nobody was really ever like this. Just. They're like some of the forefathers of like the random humor that we see that's so pervasive today, where it's just you turn on Adult Swim and you're just like, what am I looking at? What are these people doing? Like this, what does this have to do with anything? They're like a big part of like starting all that, I think. And some of the stuff is hit or miss, but I mean, with this movie alone, there's just so many great scenes, like the Black Knight. You know, everybody's seen that. You don't like the Black Knight? You don't like him no selling the arm getting cut off? Or
I mean, it's fun. To be honest, maybe I need to go back and revisit it because it's probably been about 20 years since I've seen it.
oh,
So maybe if I do go back and watch it again, I can come back and report on it. But just based off memory, when I was in my early 20s, I didn't care for it. Maybe I wasn't, advanced enough to understand the humor at that point. I don't know. So maybe I'll have a different perspective if I go back and watch it again.
maybe you had no idea how unfunny things could become over the next 20 years.
That's fair.
I do notice that when I talk about these type of things with people, I notice that a lot of people, they're a little bit resistant to stuff that is popular. Like if they heard about it long before they actually experience it, they sort of, you sort of have your arms crossed, like, oh, you impress me then. This classic comedy, I better, you better make me laugh. And that's really the wrong way to approach things, but you can't help it. It's human nature to want to reject something that's been hyped up for you. So in a similar way, to you with Monty Python, is like me with Mel Brooks. It's like I see Spaceball right behind you.
I don't see shit. No.
I love I love Spaceballs. I could quote Spaceballs with you for the rest of the show, and I like some of the other movies, but just in general, like you see his over his catalog, you see his style of humor kind of gets run dry. Like how many times is he going to do the walk this way gag?
Right.
In every movie type thing. So, but I mean, there's lots of people that love Mel Brooks, and I'm like, I could take or leave it.
Sorry, I had to sneeze and it wouldn't come out. What about Blazing Saddles? I mean, that's a big fan favorite movie. I mean, that's probably my favorite of all the Mel Brooks films. I mean, how could you not like? I mean, it wouldn't play well today, obviously, with the woke cancel culture.
I think it would because it's parodying that very thing that cancel culture is trying to, whatever the cancel culture is trying to rally against. It's kind of a parody of that, and it's hard not to see that. I mean, but
I don't know. Do you think millennials would get the humor? I kind of doubt it.
There's a lot of different. I mean, there's a lot of different humor within those type of movies. Some of it's very broad, and some of it's very simple. So maybe you don't get the genius of the parodying racism thing, right. But maybe you just think it's funny if just some of the sight gags are funny. You know what I mean? That's the one where the guy punches the horse, right?
Right. Yes.
Right. That's funny.
But I mean, look at the current state we're in with, like, I know I don't want to talk wrestling, but Buddy Murphy posted a picture of him breaking like handcuffs or shackles. And people thought that was racist, and he had to delete it and take it down and apologize for it. I mean, that's literally the state we're in as a society right now.
Yeah, kind of. But he could have just ignored that. I think the thing about cancel culture, Rob, is there really is no such thing as cancel culture. Like, culture is like who are the cancel culture leaders? Like who's the cancel culture community? Where do they get together and have meetings? What is their apparently what is their national dish? Like what do they eat? Right. You know what I mean? What is their music? Like there's no culture. It's just, are you going to listen to people that complain or not? And
that's true.
But like I said before on the show with Ray today, like you kind of have to know that you're in that world, and just be a little bit more careful with what you do if you're a public figure, just to avoid that kind of stuff. Maybe you shouldn't have to, but yeah, Sonic, who is their tribal chief? You know what I mean? Like there is no representation. It's something that's sort of made up. So like, that's we don't necessarily have to apologize. But in a way, it's kind of nice to have a little bit of checks and balances, just so that people can't just come out and say, any old thing that they want and get away with it. But yeah, As a culture, I don't think it really does exist, Spaceman. So
I've never heard anybody put it that way. So I'm like, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, literally,
yeah.
They don't have town hall meetings.
They don't know each other. They don't get together and discuss. Okay, who's next? Who are we taking down next? There's no community. There's no brotherhood. There's no camaraderie. There is no togetherness. It's they'll cancel each other if they could, But it really is just voiceless people that are using social media and hiding behind it. And if enough people kind of latch onto it, then corporations and things they get kind of scared. But I think companies have to remember that if they were only relying on people that use social media for their business, they would all be shuttered in 3 months.
Right.
So it's a very small sample size, but they're loud and annoying. But there is no cohesiveness. So back to movies, Rob.
Yeah,
what else? What else do we? How far back as comedy do you want to go? Because I'm there for the dawn of comedy movies, right? Like what about Chaplin, Keaton, Harold Lloyd? Like what do we want to talk about?
The farthest I go back would probably, and it wasn't really a movie. Well, they did make some movies. Would be Three Stooges. I mean, that's probably the earliest that I go back that I could enjoy. And in any incarnation of the Stooges, I didn't care if it was Curly or Shemp or whatever else. So yeah, I like slapstick comedy. I'm a fan of Airplane and Naked Gun and shit like that too. So my comedy range is kind of broad. I like dry, witty humor, which you tend to have sometimes. But I do like the outward, slapstick shit. I like parodies. I kind of like it all. So, I mean, do you enjoy the older stuff?
Oh yeah. Especially when you go back and look at some of those movies, like the Chaplin stuff, like what do you want to say? The Gold Rush obviously is a classic. Everybody's seen like clips of that. I mean, a lot of that was it. It is slapstick, I guess, because he would do a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like in tune with the whole Three Stooges thing, which that was their whole thing. They just took that to a new level. I'm not as big a fan of the slapstick as far as like laughing out loud or whatever, but like I can appreciate good physical comedy, of course. I would say another one, like Buster Keaton, same thing. Yeah. The General, Steamboat Bill Jr., like all those movies, like you go back and watch those and it's like, it's amazing how ahead of their time those guys were and how universal they are, like just in terms of, that appeal to anybody that could be watching it from any area. I mean, when you see somebody, falling down a certain way or doing a physical stunt or whatever, it's just in your mind, it's just very impressive. How about these guys, Rob? What do you know about these guys right here?
Never a fan of the Marx Brothers.
Never?
No, not at all.
Like actively not a fan or just not familiar enough?
No, familiar enough, just not a fan. Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Explain yourself right here in front of the people.
I don't want to have heat with you, please.
It's too late. It's too late, Rob. Now there's heat. Actually, Rob, the heat was a Mr. Rob who has to work. That's a little bit of heat. Don't worry, I've forgiven you. Water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Water under the bridge, Rob. The only person that has a job here. Wouldn't want to put you out, sir. I'm happy you could join us for the podcast today.
You don't forget anything, do you? You're like an elephant brain.
It's hard. I like elephants. They're pretty cool.
That's what she said.
Top 10 elephant movies. Top 10 elephant comedies. Let's do that.
So getting back to the Marx Brothers, not a fan. Just I can't explain it. Maybe I was again too young to appreciate it. Because obviously they're well before my time. But then I could say the same thing about like I liked Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello.
Yes,
but I don't know why I was never a Marx fan. I just to each their own. It wasn't for me.
I think that may be something to be a reserve. You got your notepad right there. You need to revisit Monty Python, Marx Brothers.
Yeah, Abbott and Costello was probably my favorite duo, like growing up as a kid.
Abbott and Costello.
Obviously, Who's on First? Everybody knows that, but
sure.
I love their movies. I love the fact that they had crossover with the horror genre by having, Dracula and Frankenstein. Yeah, dude. I mean, with the real legit, like Bela Lugosi. I mean, that was good shit. I liked watching that. I can still go back and watch those. They still hold up today. And Bud Abbott's just dry, straight, deadpan shot against Costello, just over the top, fucking crazy, dude. It worked perfect for me. I was a huge fan of them.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm not like, there's some of the ones I've seen the least, but that's just, I don't know. Whatever I haven't seen, it's because I was watching 10 other things. So like I had to make a choice at some point, but that could be something I should go back and look at more. Cause I don't think I've seen any of those all the way through, like as far as the movie ones, like you're talking about the Frankenstein and stuff. I've seen all the clips, you know what I mean? But I haven't actually sat and watched one of those. Maybe I should. But yeah, those guys like Marx Brothers, Abbott Costello, those guys, they're the, they are the fathers of modern comedy. I mean, everything like derives from them in some way.
Right.
So, and the Marx Brothers just, it was weird because their movies are like, they used to have the vaudeville show, and then they basically just put their vaudeville show on film, which doesn't always work like cohesively, because like there would just be weird little, like Harpo would just play a harp randomly in a scene, like it's just time for Harpo to play the harp now. That's just what it is. And same thing with Chico. He had to play the piano at some point,
Right. Yeah.
which he was really awesome at, and it turned into a bit in and of itself. But yeah, sometimes it was a little weird for like the normal flow of a narrative in a movie. But yeah, man, I would definitely give them another chance now that you've seen it. You come back, like what happens is, you see stuff in your formative years, then you revisit stuff that you maybe either dismissed or never saw, and then you go back and realize how much all the stuff you thought you liked took from that.
Right, yeah.
And it's like a big awakening, like, oh shit, okay. I thought I liked this, but I really like something else.
Which is the same with any performance art, really. I mean, the same with music, the same with wrestling. I mean, the same with movie. Like, everybody has inspiration from the generation or generations before them. So you can see a lot of similarities between, comedians and comedic actors. I was a big fan of God Christ, now I can't remember his name. Jesus Christ. You remember the Herbie movies, right? The old fucking Herbie the Love Bug. You ever watch those?
Yes, I believe I've...
Buddy Hackett.
Buddy Hackett.
I don't know why I can remember his name. I was thinking Buddy Murphy. I was a huge Buddy Hackett movie fan. And then I found his stand-up later on, which is completely different from the movies he was in the 60s. Like, he was a dirty comedian. Same with Red Fox. I was a huge Sanford and Son fan. Right. Didn't know anything about his stand-up until I saw him later on. I'm like, oh, fuck. It's completely different. But it's funny how certain comedians, either went from stand-up to the movies or went from movies to stand-up. Obviously, Richard Pryor had great success doing both. I was a big Pryor fan of his movies, like Brewster's Millions. Dude, I could fucking watch that over and over and over again. Are you a fan of any, stand-up guys that forayed? Is forayed the right word? Forayed into the movie scene?
Sure, lots of them did. I mean, I don't obviously I don't love Richard Pryor's movies as much as his stand-up,
right?
You know, but like there's lots of guys that have, like even guys that they got so big that you almost forget they were stand-ups, like Jim Carrey. You know what I mean? Like Jim Carrey was a stand-up, and no one really thinks about that anymore. Adam Sandler, those type of guys, like a lot of I think that was the dream. When you're a comedian, you stay a comedian, you want to get that movie. You know what I mean? You want to have that movie career. Really, that's where the money's at, right? Why sit in these shitty hotels and these one horse towns, in these small clubs, like when you could be on the big screen, seen by everyone. So, I mean, there's too many to mention. It's almost like saying, what comedies do you like? Too many to mention. You got a whole wallpaper full of comedies there, and
True.
and it's like we can get to all those and more. You got some good choices on there, but yeah, trying to think specifically.
I mean, like Saturday Night Live, obviously, is the most prolific, producer of comedians.
Steve Martin.
Yeah, Steve Martin.
Was he on Saturday Night Live, or did he just host Saturday Night Live?
He hosted
Was
quite
he on
a
one
bit.
season?
I don't know if he's a normal cast member, but obviously, like, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase,
Eddie Murphy.
Then you go into the 80s. You had mid to late 80s, early 90s. Sandler, Spade, Farley, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, Norm Macdonald. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. Like how many stars that they churned out, and how it's actually even more ridiculous how much they suck right now, which is it's crazy. Like it's not even funny. I can't even watch it anymore. But my favorite Saturday Night Live comedian of all time is Chevy Chase. I liked his style. He's a very physical actor as well. He does physical comedy. But his timing and his wit is just like, I'm a big Vacation fan. I'm a big especially Christmas Vacation. We watch that every single year. I don't know what it's about him. He just Fletch. I mean, he didn't have a ton of movies, but the ones that he did, like he was hot in the mid to late 80s. And he turned out quite a few movies. And then kind of disappeared for like 20 years. But
they're trying to remake Fletch with, who is it?
Oh, don't even tell me they are. Really?
You didn't hear about this?
No, I did not.
Heard about this? You read about this?
Oh,
no.
Fuck, I gotta Google this shit. All right.
It's somebody where I'm like, I guess if you have to, but I don't really see the appeal of a movie like Fletch now as if it was like something that really needed to be like brought in and updated. It's such a sort of like, you could make any movie that resembles Fletch and not call it that. It didn't seem like that amazing of a concept that you need, like, hey, let's remake it 40 years later. Like, okay, or not. I don't know.
I guess when you're, just absolutely, bankrupt at coming out with any new fucking ideas, creatively bankrupt, you just start remaking shit. I mean, it's kind of been the norm for the last, 10, 15 years. John Hamm.
Ooh.
I don't even know what that is. I have no idea.
You know who John Hamm is.
What have I seen?
John Draper from Mad Men.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah.
And he's more transitioned into comedy lately because that's who he really is. He, in reality, he's not a suave, Madison Avenue ad genius with a crazy dark past. He's just a goofball. So like when you see his stuff on like from 30 Rock or like the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, like you see, okay, this guy's funny. So he's a good choice for it. Similarly to Chevy Chase, where you look at Chevy Chase and you're like, I mean, what does he do really? But somehow he does it. I don't know. I get it. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
There's a guy I have nothing. First of all, let me say, nothing against him. Rest in peace. People revere this man, but I don't really get. Like, I couldn't explain to you what he does, and that's right behind your head, which is John Candy. Like, we all know John Candy. We all seem to like John Candy. I don't really think John Candy's funny, or anything he's ever done or said is what I would call funny. But he's in lots of comedies, and people remember him that way. But maybe similar to, some of the other stuff you said, I don't get John Candy. I
don't either. You're absolutely right. If he's with an ensemble cast, maybe. But I mean, I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
I love it for Steve Martin. I love it for the story and just the stupid shit they had to go through. But yeah, I was not a fan of his character in that movie. What else was he? He was in a fucking ton of movies too. Great Outdoors is a great movie, but Dan Aykroyd stole the show in that movie. Well, I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of John Candy either, but he was popular, and somebody liked him. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess he was just such a nice guy
Yeah.
that people always wanted to have him around, but like I can't, like, if I think of what's my favorite John Candy character or bit or something that's like, how would I describe John Candy to someone who wants to know why he was funny that never, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you explain it? Some people, I mean, I guess that's true of a lot of people in general. Like, you kind of have to just be aware of their charisma, but I don't know. But he's highly regarded and revered and remembered, and I guess it's just because he seemed like such a nice guy that everyone thinks that he was hilarious or something, but I can't remember anything funny he ever did. Well, I'm going to take his word for that because where he's from.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily the authority on SCTV.
I watched it a bit. We had a local, it wasn't a network channel, but it was just one of those unsyndicated thing. Or the show was syndicated on that channel, and I did watch a little bit of it. So I mean, like what? Rick Moranis came from there. Mm-hmm. John Candy.
Martin Short, was he on that?
I think Martin Short. I think Eugene Levy might have been on it too.
I think so. You're right.
And I mean, I love the McKenzie brothers. Like, if you want to go to Strange Brew, which is a cult classic, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a special kind of humor. It's smart humor.
Don't think I've seen it all the way through. It's one of the ones that's on my list. But yeah. Well, but I'm glad that they have a place in people's hearts. What can I say?
What about right down here? Weird Science.
Weird Science.
I was a huge fan growing up.
Great concept. The movie's not that good, which is weird. Like, it's kind of funny. And it's like you could see, like, this is every teen boy's fantasy. Yeah. Like, you can get the appeal if you're guys like us.
It's a typical 80s,
Yeah. But untypically not that good. That was John Hughes too, right? That he wrote. Did he write that one? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what it was, but like when I was watching it, I was like, this is not good. This is not good, bro.
Who would not want to make a woman with their computer?
Everyone's trying to right now.
That's fair.
They're trying to make women out of computers. Like, there's sex robots that they're working on, just trying to get the facial expressions right, I suppose. I mean, I don't know what goes on, but
I think it'd be right up Colin Whitesong's alley right there. I think Colin would enjoy a nice sex robot.
Yeah, but yeah, it definitely belongs in that category. Like, but for that sort of era and that thing, I'm like The Breakfast Club. It's kind of like mostly a comedy, has a little bit of drama in it. That's one of my that's an all-time favorite for me. And while I'm thinking about it, on an Emilio Estevez kick, and random weird comedies, how about Repo Man? Have you seen Repo Man?
I have seen Repo Man. I liked it, but I liked him in Men at Work better.
Well, Men at Work is I like Men at Work too, especially Keith David's character in Men at Work. Like, just there's a few sacred things in life you don't ever mess with. One of those things is another man's fries. That's oh, so good. But that movie's
since I saw Repo Man, that's why I can't really say much about it, because it was a long time ago that I saw it.
That is talk about a bizarre sort of, half-ass art house independent film.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something else, dude. Like, and I'll look at the punk culture a little bit. You kind of see that in that movie. It kind of was taking place around that time. But yeah, the first like 25-30 minutes of that movie are some of the funniest stuff I remember seeing as a kid. Like, I don't know why it was funny to me, but it was. And then it kind of gets it goes on and gets weird, a little bit more weird with the sci-fi stuff, but it's still definitely worth revisiting if anybody that's never seen that. So, but yeah, what were we saying? So Breakfast Club,
Breakfast Club was big. I mean, who didn't want to see, a Molly Ringwald skirt? I mean, it's my favorite part of the whole movie. No, it was good because it was like teenager angst, right? And like we all went through that shit. And, all these kids that came from different, ways of life, different circles, whatever, different cliques, all had to get together in this one room and coexist for how many ever hours they were in there. So, yeah, I mean, it resonated with me when I was in high school.
Yeah. And then you grow up and realize, hey, wait a minute, no teens are ever that deep.
Right? No, absolutely not. But I mean, I can still go back and watch that and still enjoy it today. Yeah, we all love to reminisce about nostalgia and shit we watched when we were younger. I mean, the 80s is my jam, like mid to late 80s. Were you a Jim Belushi fan?
Not particularly, just in the sense that he was kind of just a little bit before my time as far as like when he was, I forget he died in
80.
It was
somewhere around.
It was early 80s to the point where I was probably, not in school yet, not even in preschool. So I would have been very young. So like I would have had to go back and look at, the Animal House and Blues Brothers type stuff. But
Blues Brothers, dude.
Yeah.
I said Jim, I meant John. John Belushi was the one that died. Jim was the one that did everything after that. He's still alive. He did fucking K9.
That's what I thought you meant. Was John Belushi, but
no, Animal House.
Jim Belushi's okay.
Animal House is a cult classic. National Lampoon's first movie. It was a magazine growing up. But there's some iconic lines in that too. But that's, how old are you? 42, 38, 39?
40 even.
40. Are you really 40 even? Okay. You look younger than that.
Thank you.
You look good for your age. No, so we're in the same bracket. I'm 45, so Animal House is a little bit early for me too. But I enjoyed it, like going back and watching his stuff on Saturday Night Live. I did enjoy Animal House. There was one movie, it was 1942 or something like that. It was fucking atrocious. That was
Steven Spielberg's. Yeah. I'm sure he'd like to have that one back.
Yeah, exactly. I think he made a hit with Jaws after that, so I think he did okay for himself.
Yeah, he did all right.
But lost my train of thought. I liked John's brother Jim. I liked K9, even though it was kind of a dramedy. It was kind of half comedy, half drama. I'm trying to think of the other one that he did where he stole somebody's file fax and he pretended to be him. Like he broke out of jail. All he wanted to do was go to a Cubs game. God, I fucking hate getting old. It's one of my favorite movies, but now I can't even remember the fucking... Oh, Taking Care of Business. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Taking Care of Business with
Jim Belushi.
God.
I
might have, but I don't think so. I don't think I saw that one.
He was supposed to get out of jail. He was in... he called up a radio station to try to win tickets to a Cubs game. He won. He was supposed to get released like a week later. So he had his friends, his inmates in there kind of sneak him out somehow. And then he went and found this guy's file folder. They call it a file fax, whatever. It had all his contacts in it, where he lived, had his fucking keys and all that shit. So he pretended to be this dude while he was out of town. And it's, I don't know, if you haven't seen it, it's one of my favorites. It's a typical 80s, stupid ass comedy. It's nothing serious. It's all lighthearted. It's an easy hour and a half watch. But if you haven't seen it, I would recommend going back and watching that.
Well, even though it's kind of a ripoff, I used to like the movie Mr. Destiny when I was a kid too. Like, you know that one?
Yep.
Michael Caine mix him a magic drink, and then he goes to live his other life. Sonic the Hedgehog says, I was watching movies like The Color Purple. I know, hilarious. Color Purple, hilarious. All-time great comedies.
One of the funniest of all time. Absolutely.
Just amazing. But he also put over the Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Christy Swanson there. And if I felt like going over to my shelf to prove that I have that one too, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Great movie. Extremely tiny brief appearance during the basketball game by Ben Affleck, an unknown Ben Affleck, although he was so unknown and tiny that they overdubbed his voice with somebody that is definitely not Ben Affleck in the movie. When he's I think it's like when the guy like bares his fangs and he gives him the ball. He's like, "Here, take it, man." It's like, that's not Ben Affleck at all, but
like, who makes that call, right? Like, he just delivered a line right. Fucking FCL.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you listen to some of his haters over the years, then you'd understand like why somebody might just not like him for no reason. Speaking of which,
I mean, they made him Batman, for fuck's sake.
I have another film here. Now, you want to talk about this? Now, this is I brought this up just for a specific conversation piece, but it hits a lot of boxes. Number one, it's a genre, like, it's a Christmas comedy. Okay. It was critically destroyed. Like, this is one of the lowest, rated, revered movies of all time.
Okay.
And I think it's pretty damn good. And that would be this right here. Okay. Surviving Christmas. Have you ever seen this?
I have. Yes, I have.
And now after having seen it, are you convinced that none of the critics that panned this actually watched the movie? If it was just one of those things where they're like, God, I got to watch 10 things today. I don't have time for this. What is this? Ben Affleck in a Christmas movie? Fuck this. This sucks. I'm going to write up a review that doesn't mention anything about it specifically and bury him, because this came out like right at the height of the Benifer stuff when people just hated him.
Yeah.
So I'm sure nobody gave it a chance, but like, and it's not like the greatest movie ever. It's not going to stand up to some of the classics that we're talking about, but like, there's nothing wrong with this movie. It's got a lot of good stuff. James Gandolfini and Christina Applegate are in it, and Catherine O'Hara, I believe. That's her, right? Yep. So I mean, if you're in the mood for a Christmas movie, but you're tired of all the old standbys like A Christmas Story and other stuff, give Surviving Christmas a chance to see if you hate it. That's my challenge to you all.
See if you hate it. That's a great tagline. No, I liked it. I did. I mean, if you don't take it too seriously, it's just, and that's what you got to do with comedies. It's just they're just movies. Like, have there been really bad comedies? Yes. There's plenty of movies that try to be funny and are not. The Hangover.
The Color Purple, really, to be honest. No, just kidding. Don't cancel me.
Sonic says Big is an all-time classic.
Ooh, Big's good.
Were you a Tom Hanks fan as a comedian, or you like him better as a drama guy?
He can do it all, can he? I mean, I'll do whatever.
He started out, in comedies, and finally, became a really great, dramatic actor with Saving Private Ryan and Philadelphia. But I liked his early stuff, like The Man with One Red Shoe. What was the one with the fucking mermaid?
Splash.
God, Daryl Hannah's hot at one point. But Big. Oh, yeah. I saw Big in the theaters as a kid. Fucking love that movie. I could still go back and watch that.
So that's another, as a fantasy, it's just banging an adult chick. Like, that's yeah. It's a little problematic now if you look at it, but like, other than that little thing, the general sweetness and tone of it was very family friendly. Tom Hanks is just one of those guys, man. He, like, whatever he does, like, he's gonna, even if the thing that he's in sucks, which it doesn't usually happen, but he's still gonna bring something to it.
Like you do with the Next Level podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. I do try to, I do a lot. Once I get out of the gym, I got to do even more lifting when I get home, right? So
yeah. But Ray's got potential. I mean, kid's got.
I'm working with the kid. I don't want this to turn into like I don't want this to have to turn into like a Charlotte and Nia situation, So I'm going to be professional about this.
Then you got to get Vickery involved if it's Charlotte. So we don't want to do that.
Yeah, the proper thing to do, when Big Ray gets out of control, is to just grab a hold and slow him down a little bit. Like, all right, kid, just relax. Yeah, Tom Hanks, great.
What about The Burbs? My wife loves The Burbs, and I'm
weird fucking movie.
It is,
but cool.
But it has some brilliance in it. That
it does. Yeah. Dark. It's a little darker than the average, especially it just has one of those, like, those aesthetics. Like, I don't know, who do I compare it to? I almost wanted to say Tim Burton, but nah. it's like it's just a little different. It's a different movie, but it's cool. Like, you know, I like it. There's that feel that I think the reason that, you know, you've made a brand out of nostalgia and especially around that era when we were growing up is because it was like a creative zenith in terms of entertainment. Like, so many things kind of really peaked in the 80s and into the 90s a little bit, like maybe around, you know, almost into the late 90s was like a, you know, we had so much stuff. But if you just look at the icons that came out of the 80s alone, like in terms of films, just look, the 80s was, you know, Indiana Jones came out in the 80s. You know, Yoda came out in the 80s. All those things, RoboCop, Terminator, technically Alien was in 79, but Aliens with the Queen Alien was 86. And come on, man, that Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers. Like, well, no, he was 70, so late 70s, but still, you know, a vast majority of the Halloween franchise came out then. Just like so many like different icons that you could name of just, you know, just movie characters that came out then. And then what have we really had after that? Not a lot.
No, not really. I mean, the 80s is like the like franchise period where you had like a lot of sequels, you know, whether it was Star Wars, like you said, Indiana Jones, you know, Beverly Hills Cop was another one that had 3 movies, which I love all those movies. I could watch Eddie Murphy is fantastic. I mean, he was ahead. I wouldn't say he was ahead of his time because he borrowed a lot of shit and stole shit from Richard Pryor. But Eddie had
admittedly, in fact, it was in his act, literally stealing it. So No, the thing about all I had done as a kid is take a shit, so I told shit jokes as Richard Pryor.
I like Richard Pryor, so yeah. Mother up there watching this 12-year-old say some outlandish shit. Eddie Murphy Raw and Delirious. I could quote just about every line from those.
Yeah, we could count those as 80s comedy movies too. Like I mean, technically they were like Raw was a movie.
It was a theatrical release. Yeah,
concert movie.
Coming to America 1 and 2. Like, did you watch the second one?
I did.
What'd you think of it?
I probably shouldn't have. But what does anybody expect? Like you took way too long.
30 years later, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like I like a lot of the stuff that what's his name? Kenya Barris does. Like, I think Blackish is a funny show. I thought his show Black AF on Netflix, which was basically exactly Blackish, except he put his literal self in the lead role. But it's still funny. Like, and I'm like, this is the same guy. Like, this guy's funnier than this. This should have not happened. Or I think what it was, Rob, is I think more than anything they played it safe.
Right.
Because of the times we're living in, the perceived times, like, oh, we can't do this and that now. So I think they just played it a little too safe, and as a result, you ended up in a movie with like very few jokes, very few gags.
True.
It kind of was just like more story.
It was just more callbacks, really, that I enjoyed from the first movie. The story itself sucked, but I like seeing the characters come back, you know. But the original was fucking fantastic. That's one of my all-time favorites. How could you not like the original Coming to America?
Yes, it is in his face.
Yes, in his face, in his face, in his face. He cheers when it's halftime.
Yes,
the world penis,
and of course, sexual chocolate.
Yeah,
that's you know, we can thank that for Mark Henry's gimmick and
that's right.
Other stuff.
Not nearly as funny as The Color Purple, but still.
No, I mean, we all aspire to be as funny as The Color Purple.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You know, one movie I was not a fan of, and that's right up here, Teen Wolf. I was a Michael J. Fox fan. Didn't like the movie. I didn't like Teen Wolf at all. I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't like werewolf shit.
Until you saw Teen Wolf 2, and then you were like, man, I really appreciate the nuances and greatness of Teen Wolf.
Goddamn classic compared to Teen Wolf 2, but were you a Michael J. Fox fan? I mean, he was real hot after Family Ties.
I'm just gonna say no, not that I was not a fan, but like I wasn't a fan. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? Like I didn't necessarily seek out Michael J. Fox to watch. But
Doc Hollywood, dude. Doc Hollywood's a great movie.
yeah, Doc Hollywood's all right. Secret of My Success. There was The Hard Way with James Woods. There's stuff he did, but like really, I mean, if you're gonna talk Michael J. Fox, there's really only one.
Obviously,
this is one of the greatest comedies of all time. It is timeless, even though it's about time and it's very specifically set in times. Literally. But like when you watch this, it's just as good and just as brilliant. Any of the three movies are pretty good, but especially that first one, like they just, oh God, they haven't made a movie that good in a long time. And I was so scared too. Like every time it hits like a certain anniversary of years, like I get afraid that someone's going to get the idea that they need to remake this. It's like, so now he's actually living in 2015 and he's going to go back to 1985. Like, no, don't do it. You know, no, but they never did it. So I'm glad about that. But,
well, they knew it was time to quit. I mean, and I think even going to third one was a little bit too far, especially like they filmed it like back to back. Like they had the trailer for the third movie at the end of the second movie. It was like no one ever did that shit before back then.
No.
I enjoyed the first one a lot. I actually enjoyed the second one too. I thought the future jokes were funny. Like Cubs won the World Series. Then they finally did, like 35 years later.
It was funny till it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't a big fan of the third, maybe just because of the Western thing, and a lot of the same gags were used, a lot of the same jokes. But you can't touch the first one, dude. Like that's my dad's favorite movie. Like he could watch that over and over and over again. He would crank up his stereo system in the beginning when Marty would go to Doc's house and fire up the guitar, and with that big giant fucking amplifier and the big giant speaker, and he hit the chord and goes flying backwards. My dad fucking loved that shit. He'd crank up his stereo and just play that over and over and over again. The tape that we had was worn out in that spot. That's how many times he watched it. But yeah, he'll always be known for Back to the Future over anything else, I think.
Kids are like, "What's a tape?" But
yeah, my bad. Sorry.
But yeah, it's great. It's one of the best movies we're going to talk about today, and there's going to be some great movies. We barely even scratched the surface. We're just kind of like, you know, freewheeling it here, and we're already like
we're still in
an hour in. Yeah. But yeah, I think I do believe though somebody wanted to do it. I think they wanted to remake it.
Oh,
and
I'm sure.
I think they just were stopped, but they, you know, as long as they keep getting stopped, that's all. Because it's sacrilegious at this point, you know.
Now, how does that work? Like, whoever owns the IP, do they have to sign off on it? Can anybody, like, do they have to get permission from whoever, like, I don't know, Columbia or whoever owns the copyright for it to give the okay for a script?
Yeah, and that would be Sony at this point. Sony owns Columbia, I believe. So, so there would be a lot of that. So if they wanted to force it to happen, it could happen. But I don't think. I think you would make just as much money if you re-released the original back to theaters.
Yeah, true.
I think, and I think that's true of a lot of these things. Like a lot of the remakes that you see, I feel like if you just, you know, remastered them and touched them up and gave them a nice new visual presentation of the same old movie, I think they would make just as much money as some shitty one would, because it's just going to get people that are curious about it. Like, you know, I don't know. We should go look at this. Yeah. So, yeah, I wouldn't.
Shit in IMAX, dude. I'd go fucking see that again.
Oh yeah, you got to. And a lot of those they have done. You know, like I remember seeing like I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark in IMAX or some other ones. So just whenever they do that. So, but yeah, I think the best bet is just leave that alone because it's perfect how it is, and anyone can from this generation. It's still going to appeal to anybody that just watches it right now.
Yeah.
Because it's such a universal story, you know.
Especially when they remade Ghostbusters with the female cast. You want to talk about a fucking fantastic movie. Wow, that's the second time you walked out today.
Sorry, I just
second time that happened
for a second. Collect myself. Well, since you brought it up, let's ignore that and let's talk about.
I saw the original in the theaters as a kid. Both of them actually. I saw both of them with my dad.
I did get to see the second one. I wouldn't have been age appropriate for the first one.
I wasn't either, but my dad took me to see
it. Yeah, I don't know. I think you've been all right.
It was like the library scene fucking scared the shit out of me. in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie about that. I wasn't ready for that.
Well, one of the things that makes Ghostbusters great, and this is probably like, if I had to nail down one comedy, like if I had to pick one as the greatest of all time, not only my personal favorite, but actually the greatest, I might just have to go with Ghostbusters, because it does so many things well, more so than any other movie. Because yes, it is very funny, and they've got very funny people in it. It's also amazing. Like, this is on a whole other level, but like, it's also amazing based on what this movie could have been.
Right.
Because, at some point they had like, they did have John Belushi attached to this, and, it was going to be some weird, like, time traveling, thing, more like that cartoon with the ape in it. You know what I mean? Like some shit like that. Like, it was going to be more like that. And they had all these stupid ideas that when you hear them talk about it now, you're like, oh my God, you dodged so many bullets. You're like Neo dodging these bullets. Like, how, like, to get something this good out of what you originally wanted accidentally, is just, that's amazing right there.
And think about it, like, CGI wasn't even really a thing back then either. Like, that was like cutting edge technology with the ghosts and shit like that, and the effects that they had.
Yep. A lot of it still looks good. I think the actual visual effects look pretty much like they look great. The ghosts, the ghosts look great. Like the proton pack lasers look great.
Yep.
The only thing that doesn't look good is the stop motion, like, because of the high definition now, because we have the Blu-rays and 4Ks and all this other stuff. So like when you see the terror dogs, like they look, it looks like it's from a different movie in there, and it stands out against the real background. But like when they have the close-ups of the dogs, when they use puppets and models and stuff like that, like those things look frightening still. Yeah. So that's to the point. Like, as funny as this movie is, when they try to show you something, it's actually scary. It's not just like more goofy humor. It's like, it's legitimately freaky looking stuff, Marshmallow Man aside, but like when you see those dogs, like when the scene when Dana's in the apartment and they, like, all the hands come out of the chair and grab her, and then the door opens and the dog's standing, it's like, that is scary shit, bro. It looks good.
And when she's in the bed and her eyes roll up in the back of her head and she starts levitating and speaking different languages, like, yeah, dude, that shit. I mean, they did comedy well. They did horror pretty well. They had drama. It was really a perfect movie the way it was booked. Mm-hmm. Stop talking about wrestling.
Yep.
It was booked very well.
Right, but and like, just from every level, like the music, the score was great. The soundtrack, great. The editing of the film was great. Like, the film just moves along. Like, you hardly realize, like, there's really no slow spots in it.
True.
There may be slow spots when you're a kid, like when you just want to see the next monster and you're fast forwarding, to see your favorite parts and stuff like that. But like, as an adult, when you're like really paying attention and taking in the story and the jokes and stuff, and I don't know why, I don't know about that. It's just like, she sleeps above her covers, 4 feet above her covers. But yeah, so like all the elements of what you want in a movie are present in this. And on top of that, like, the science they try to use, like, or like, it's not real, but it's like based in a reality. Like, they did research. So like when Ray is talking about like the Tunguska blast of 1909 or something, like, that's a real thing you can look up. Yeah. You know what I mean? They took stuff from that. They sourced that. So, but just...
What do you think of the second one, though? Was that a money grab?
Oh, no. Well, in a way, isn't everything. But dude, I love the second one. The only thing that hurts the second one is how great the first one is.
Yeah, that's fair.
There is so much funny shit in the second one that I quote to this day. I think it's super slept on. And I think that people that don't like it, they're just like, yeah, and it pales in comparison to the first one, of course. But if you just took this as like joke for joke, this would be like a 12-round decision. It's not going to be like a knockout. I I think what are you talking about? You're giving us content, Sonic. Sonic said, "Sorry, I brought up The Color Purple. Don't hate me forever." Of course not. Actually,
Greatest comedy of all time.
yeah, it's the greatest comedy of all time. Legitimately, that is a great movie too. Crazy that they got Steven Spielberg to do it. That would never happen today. But he, I think even he knew the gravity of the situation he was in, and that's why the movie's so good, right? But yeah, Ghostbusters 2, dude. Like, it only pales. It's just like RoboCop. RoboCop's so great
True.
that when you see RoboCop 2, you're like, RoboCop 2, but it's like, it's kind of cool in its own right. It's just not nearly as good as the first one, bro. So,
right.
yeah, I think Ghostbusters is gonna have to be my all-timer. So we'll just get that one out of the way for now.
Now, before you get to the next one, are you excited for the new reboot?
Not really, but I'm more excited than I was for the last one.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God. Dude, that movie, awful. Fucking awful. And this is not 1 ounce of sexism talking. It's
just a bad movie.
Like, those ladies are all hilarious.
Yeah.
And that movie sucked. I'm sorry. It was not their fault. They did the best they could. There was no reason for it to ever exist. It just shouldn't have happened. There was one joke at the very, very beginning of the movie that they threw it away. It's so like minute that I don't remember even exactly what it was, but it was something about, like, when they were doing you saw it, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something about.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so when they're about to do it's like the cold open or whatever, and they're about to do the tour of that, like, house, that haunted house or whatever, and the guy makes some comment about the fence, like that spiked fence or whatever, being there to keep out the Irish or something like that. Like, that's the funniest thing in the whole movie, and they throw it away right at the top. Yeah. It's all downhill from there, but yeah.
What else do you have in your bag?
Oh shit! Let me just start grabbing. Okay, now here's one. Now when you were saying, did before I bring this up, do you have any other films that fit in your category, like you were saying, Monty Python's or cult classics, that you don't agree with? Is there anything else on that list that you care to bring up right now?
Dumb and Dumber.
Oh really? Dumb and Dumber.
Yes.
Don't love it, don't like it, hate it.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just okay for me. It's not. I don't think it's like the genius movie that everybody tries to make it out to be. I think there's parts of it that are really, really funny. Kind of like god, dude, I fucking can't remember anything right now. I
will help you. Give me some hints.
Two models. They have they name their fucking poses and shit like that. Zoolander. Parts of that are funny. Parts of that movie are funny, but it's not a fucking all-time classic for me. That's kind of where those two movies fall in for me.
Yeah, I think they both have a lot of great stuff, but Dumb and Dumber came out at the height of Jim Carrey-ness.
True.
And I think it really was a good showcase for, not necessarily, well, kind of him. I mean, Ace Ventura is the best showcase of just unadulterated Jim Carrey.
I love Me, Myself, and Irene. He has had good comedies.
Mm-hmm.
Dumb and Dumber just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I like Dumb and Dumber. I've seen it a lot, but a lot. But this next movie is one where I have loved it since day one.
Okay.
Day one. And now it has such a fan following that it makes me almost not want to like it as much because of the fans, but I can't think like that. I have to remember I was there first. I was the original hipster. I was liking things before they were cool, before everybody liked things before it was cool.
That's because you're smart, though. You're smarter than the average bear.
That's right. Thank you, Boo Boo. But yeah, so now they have whole conventions based around this stuff, but it's still, to me, this is one of those movies where every time you watch it, you hear that people say that a lot. Every time you watch it, you find something new. There's always something you didn't catch before. This definitely holds up to repeated viewings, but what are your thoughts on The Big Lebowski?
Loved it. I loved it. Loved it. That's one of those where I can just sit back and chill and watch it and not care about anything else that's going on. And that is a cult classic. I don't think it was well received by critics either. But it's just, there's so much smart humor in that movie. Maybe some people don't get all of it. Not everybody's intelligent as you and I. So
it's not even a matter of not getting it. It's like, even if we get it, it takes us a while because we're still recovering from the stuff we just saw. Like we don't even have time to, we're laughing at the first thing and there's something else going on. But there's so much detail. Oh man, Sonic, you got to check it out, man. And then check it out 800 more times so that you can find all the jokes in it.
Right. Because you do pick up on things when you watch it. You're like, oh fuck, I don't remember that. Because
right. Which is true of any comedy. Like if you watch it enough, you'll laugh at all the stuff you find immediately funny. Then you get tired of laughing at those things because you've seen them, and then you start looking at other stuff, and you're like, that's pretty funny too. Like you work your way down like to the least funny stuff, and until you know what I mean. It's like if you watch it enough, you can find it all. But the Big Lebowski is really smart. But it's not so smart that it's necessarily over anybody's heads. Like they're not talking about stuff you don't understand. It's just like you don't see the detail they put in, like the little jokes or like how the dude will react to things that people tell him.
Yeah.
Like when someone will say something in front of him, like when what's her name? When Julianne Moore's character, whatever, when she says like, a young trophy wife in the parlance of our times, and then like later on he tries to use parlance of our times in a sentence, but he does it wrong. Like you just like it's yeah. I don't know.
Bridges is great, dude. Like I would hang out with him all day long. Like that's kind of how he is in real life too. He's just real laid back and chill.
Seems like it, right?
Yeah, very good movie.
Canada Spaceman guesses here. I mean, I saw this a while ago, but I was just now waiting for a moment. He guesses that you hates Airheads and Wayne's World.
I like Wayne's World. Don't like Airheads.
Oh, you don't like Airheads? Oh man,
no,
come on.
No.
There's some good shit in it.
But Wayne's World.
You're the Lone Rangers. There's 3 of you. You're not exactly lone. No. Nope. Okay.
In fairness, it's been a while since I've seen that too. But I was a big Wayne's World mark. I liked him from Saturday Night Live, so when the movie came out, it was just a natural progression to watch the movie for me. But Airheads, Sandler to me, I don't know. Like Billy Madison, obviously, it's funny. Happy Gilmore is my favorite movie that he's ever done. But even he is, I don't know. A lot of stuff that he did was kind of the same character, but just different fucking storyline. He just always played like this wacky, goofy, crazy dude. Same with what was the fucking football one? Waterboy?
Waterboy, yeah.
Yeah, it was good, but I mean,
the last movie that Adam Sandler was good in, like humor wise. I have a theory, and right around the time of like right around the turn of the millennium, like right around 99, 2000 when Big Daddy was coming out, I believe Adam Sandler got married, and I'm pretty sure that his wife probably said, I'm not going to be married to somebody that's doing a bunch of dumb shit on these screens. So you can make Rob Schneider do all that stuff from now on, and you just be the straight man. Right. And that's basically what it's been ever since. If you really notice, that was the end. The Waterboy was the end of Adam Sandler being the weird character.
Which is funny because that's where he made all his fucking money from. So like, why would you stop that cash cow, dude? I would have divorced her.
Rob, you know how wives get in the way of men having fun.
That's fair. So. Yet I'm still here with you.
Oh.
Yeah, she's not happy, but hey, whatever.
See, I told you that. Yeah.
All right, what else you got?
Who's the vet?
Veterinary. You would know who it is.
Let's see. What else do we got? Did you have anything else you want to bring up too? Because I've got a few things, but I don't want.
My favorite all-time comedy, and I don't even know if you've seen it. And it's so stupid.
Bet you I have.
All right, maybe. See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
Gene Wilder and Gene Wilder?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
I've probably seen it 100 times. I don't know why that's my favorite movie. Maybe because I've seen it 100 times. But if you go back and look at the story, like the continuity sucks. There's plot holes everywhere. But I don't know. That's one of those movies where I can just put it on and just veg out. And I love those two together. They did other great movies together earlier on, but I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of it was 89. That was my favorite year. No idea, but that's one of my favorite.
I remember even seeing the trailers for that movie at some point when I was a kid, just being like, "Oh, this is cool, a cool idea," you know, like it's
Blind Guy,
like you said, those guys,
like who doesn't want to watch that?
Exactly. Those guys are so good. There's a lot of great. We could do a show just on comedy teams.
Yeah.
Like not even like established ones like the Marx Brothers, but just people that just somehow got paired up and just became that, like, you know, the Farley Spades or whatever, the Wilder Pryors, or
Tommy Boy, like, fantastic movie.
Yeah, you said Tommy Boy?
Yeah, it's one of my all-time faves.
Yeah, I could probably quote Tommy Boy, the whole thing up and down. Same thing with Wayne's World too. Like, I think I know the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, no VHS. Well, Canada Spaceman, my VHS are packed up in a box somewhere like they should be. I'm sorry, I don't have all my VHS tapes handy, but I specifically handpicked these ones just for guys like you, so I have visual aids. See, you can't even with some of these people, you know, even when you're go out of their way, it's so ungrateful. You know what I mean?
Blame Canada.
Blame Canada.
Sorry. Before you move on, my second all-time favorite comedy, No Holds Barred.
What's that smell?
Yuki. Yeah, I mean, it's so fucking bad. It's got to be a comedy for me. Like, it's just so god awful. But that's one of those movies that I've seen like fucking 150 times, and I can still
go see it in the theater.
I did. I saw it 3 times in the theater as a kid.
Yeah,
I was a big Hulk Hogan mark, so yeah, I loved it when it came out.
Just always think, like, whenever the WWE has this inflated sense of themselves as an entertainment company, just that's what you think a movie is, Vince McMahon. That's exactly what you thought a movie was.
That's right.
You made that. Still better than the Marine, but I mean, regardless, I just should not. And I have that. It's over on the shelf, but I didn't grab it because it's, you know, I didn't think about it in those terms.
It's so bad, it's funny. That's
right. I love it. Exactly. Well, let me get this out of the way, because it's this is always a popular on a popular list, and I love it because it's great, not necessarily because, you know, it's one of my all-time favorites or anything, but it's just really good, and I do respect it, and I had to own a copy. But that's Princess Bride. Another one of those universal, timeless appeals for all ages, and there's a reason why it's on everybody's list, you know, when they talk about great comedies. Your thoughts?
Fun fact, I have never watched it.
Holy shit, you never seen it? Let me guess. It's because you saw that the title was called The Princess Bride, and you're like, that's for girls.
No, I saw parts of it. Like, if it comes on TNT or whatever, I'll you know, watch it for a few minutes, but I've never sat through and watched the entire movie from beginning to end. My wife has a million times. I haven't. I can't tell you why. Maybe at this point it's just out of habit. I just didn't want to watch it, but I will take your advice.
It's good.
If you really like it that much, I'll go back and
it's one of those ones that's like, okay, look, maybe not for your own personal enjoyment, like this is going to be your favorite movie ever, but you have to be able to say that you've seen it.
True.
Like, how can anybody take what you say seriously if you haven't seen The Princess Bride, kind of thing, right? Like, what do you know? More like that. Yeah. And Spaceman's right. Andre the Giant is very funny in it. It's a giant, you know.
I am a Carrie Elwes fan too. So I mean,
right. He's all over it. And there's little cameos in there. I mean,
I'll watch
it.
Good
shit.
I'll report back to you.
And your wife will be so happy that you want to watch it.
Think
about that. You could make so speaking of that, on that note, I'll go into this little side tangent that I prepared for all you guys out there. Let's say you want to watch a movie with a lady. Maybe it's a lady you've been married to for years. Maybe it's a lady you just met and you want to Netflix and chill, whatever. But you're going to have to watch one of those chick flicks. And there are some out there for the guys, for the fellas, that women love, but that you will also find enjoyable. And so I know I'm probably leaving some off, but I made a short list.
Okay.
Just to help the people out. So
you're so prepared.
Number 1. Down with Love. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, now this is a little more specific, so I wouldn't necessarily pull this one out like it's an ace, but
Okay.
it's got Ewan McGregor and Renee Zellweger, and it's sort of set in like I think it's like the 40s or 50s. It's set around that time of like the Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn type, and it's like a movie that's like that, but like a parody of that.
Gotcha.
So where everybody talks that certain way, and there's like, you know, it's one of those screwball comedies, like a throwback screwball comedy type, but in modern, like made with modern, you know, technology and budget, but in the style of an old movie and in color, and pretty funny.
Okay.
Another one, The Mexican. Have you seen that? Am I going to get canceled for saying that? Can you even say that? I don't even know if you can say the title of this movie anymore. The Mexican.
I mean, Mexicans still exist. I love Mexican food, so. Yeah,
oh,
sure.
all right. Well, you're clear.
It's not like you call it, like, it's not called the pull boy or the fruit picker. So I mean,
yeah, I can't remember what it was. I think it was a joke on 30 Rock or something where it's like what do you call somebody from Mexico? They're like, Mexican. They're like, I don't think that's right.
but no, I have not seen it. But yes,
so you're not seen The Mexican?
I have not.
But you know what it is? You know which movie I'm referring to? It's with Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts, where he's supposed to, like, Brad Pitt is like a hapless courier for some criminal, and he's supposed to deliver. The Mexican refers to like a pistol, like an old like flintlock pistol or something that he's supposed to. No, that's a different one. I think he's thinking of Get the Gringo.
Which
but yeah,
say that. But
yeah, I can't say that. No, you can say that. If it's about white people, you can definitely say it.
Fair.
This whole thing is just like, it's like one of those, and Julia Roberts is like his girlfriend that gets dragged into it that has no idea what he does, but she's constantly like browbeating him the entire time. It's a little long, and it's like the editing is poor because they, like, if you see some of the deleted scenes, there's stuff that they really should have left in because it makes things make sense that doesn't make sense in the movie without it. But it's James Gandolfini again appears in this film. And so it's cool. Check it out if you haven't seen that, or if you need, you know, it's like, hey, have you ever seen this movie, honey? You know, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't agree with Can't Spaceman. Brad Pitt does not suck. Brad Pitt is awesome.
He is awesome.
He is a pretty boy.
Yeah,
but he's awesome. Another one for the ladies. This is a nice, breezy, gentle. I think it's rated G, for God's sake. But it's One Fine Day, with the great George Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm not going to bother with a plot synopsis, but just know that this is definitely a crowd pleaser. So the lady will be quite happy that she watched this with you and that you picked it out. You'll be a hero.
Anything with Clooney doesn't even fucking matter what it is. Just
guy's so great.
Yeah,
so great. Oh, which that's a perfect transition before I wrap up this the rom-com list.
The obscure rom-com list that I've never heard.
You want to talk about obscure? What you know about this right here?
Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Never seen it.
Well, guess who's in it? George Clooney.
Oh, okay.
George Clooney with a full perm.
Oh, shit. Like Facts of Life days.
Facts of Lifetimes. Yes.
I got you.
This was an early role. I'm not going to say it's his first role, but it's an early role, and he always likes to bring it up whenever he gets a chance. He is not ashamed of it, and that's one of the reasons that George Clooney is one of the greatest men alive.
And he banged Stacy Keibler.
Yeah, many times.
Yeah.
And then dumped her ass.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
So awesome.
Get out of here. Yeah.
And then got married to somebody else like the next chick. So that's so fucked up. But anyways, still.
Happened to Nikki Bella too. So, I mean,
yeah, it does happen. Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the Tomatoes franchise. I'm sure you heard of it, of course.
Heard it. Yeah.
Have you seen Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or any of these sequels?
I have not seen them at all.
All right. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes has a reputation as being one of the worst movies ever made.
Okay.
I I think that the person that thinks that's the worst movie ever made lives a blessed life. Because I've seen some shit that you would, to quote the Ghostbusters, I've seen some shit that'll turn you white. But it's not great in terms of budget, but it's very great in terms of humor. Like it's at least on par with all that sort of Saturday Night Live era stuff from the late 70s, early 80s. It's that kind of humor.
So it's nothing like Toxic Avenger type like movie or anything like that.
It kind of is.
Okay.
Like, do you like that? Are you a Trauma Films fan?
Depends what mood I'm in.
Okay, the original Toxic Avenger that's one of my favorites. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily consider it a comedy, even though it is. I wouldn't have thought of it. But I mean, let's face it, dude. We're talking about so many movies, and we're gonna leave so many movies off the table. Like, how do we even think about doing a topic like this? But like, I was the whole thing I was dreading was forgetting stuff. Like, oh, what if I forget this awesome movie? So, yeah, Toxic Avenger is pretty good too. But it's on that sort of level, right? But Return of the Killer Tomatoes is definitely like, it's a corny movie. But I think more of the jokes land than they don't if you're in the right frame of mind. And there's definitely some worse ones, that we do like. So,
well, I mentioned corny movies in the beginning of the show, like Airplane and Naked Gun and stuff like that. Like, are you cool with parody movies? And like
these are okay. So this is like almost one of those.
Okay.
The tomato movies are basically, they're kind of like that. The stuff that's like absurd to the point of being impossible. Obviously, Killer Tomatoes are impossible, but you know what I mean? Like they do a lot of that spoof sort of humor. So Airplane, Naked Gun, I do like those. I think Naked Gun's pretty funny. I watched it somewhat recently and it didn't hold up as well as I wished it did, but it's always, but that's me looking at like, what if someone had never seen this and is watching it today? They're probably not going to think it's that funny. For me, it's perfectly funny.
I thought OJ killed it.
Yeah. Heroin. OJ killed it. You're the best comedy movie, Rob. You're the best comedy movie.
Thanks, buddy. I thought I'd pop you.
That whole heroin, Frank, heroin. Well, that's a tall order, buddy. I'll have to see what I can do. All right, so the final ultimate final boss chick flick movie. If you ever need to just to watch a movie that guys will love for their own specific reasons and women will love for their own specific reasons, it's the perfect marriage of both audiences, is Jerry Maguire.
Okay, that's the one movie on your list I have seen. Plenty of time.
What'd you think? Great movie, right?
Fantastic movie, yeah.
Just excellent movie. Let's see. What else do we have here?
How about like newer, comedies like Horrible Bosses, Wedding Crashers?
Newer Wedding Crashers is already like 20 years old almost.
All right, maybe I'm fucking dating myself.
But it does seem newer than some of these other ones, right?
It does.
Horrible Bosses is not that funny to me, but Jennifer Aniston is extremely hot in it, so there's that.
Christ, yes. No, hold on. Like the whole car scene with like talking to the fucking Gary. His name is fucking, I forgot what it said. That's funny shit. Like, what's your name? And he told him, he's like, nah, I'm just gonna fucking call you Gary. Like, that name's fucking nice. Like, yeah. I like humor. Like Jason Sudeikis is funny to me. I kind of like his humor. And Charlie's fucking funny. Charlie Day is fantastic. I don't know if you're a Sonny fan, but
I'm not gonna say I'm not a fan. I just haven't watched it.
Okay.
What I've seen is not enough to really twist my arm to watch it. And Charlie Day is like, he's just like, to me, he just yells things in his high pitched voice, and like that's supposed to be the funny part.
Okay.
But that's all right. Everybody can't be a comedic genius. And he is from a later era of comedy, which, as we all know, it sucks. Like, as we were trying to think of things from 2001 on that were cool, it just doesn't really happen. So
fair. No, that's fair.
Right when everything starts going down the toilet. Let's move into. Okay, here's a little bit of a couple of animated classics, because I don't think we mentioned any cartoon films so far.
Not yet. Nope.
All right. Now here's one. It's a little out of left field, but I think it's definitely can be considered a comedy. And it's one of the, I think it's more underrated Disney films. And that's going to be this right here, Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Simply for the character of Prince John alone, anybody should watch this movie. That is, top level comedic voice acting. Prince John, Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood.
It is very good, and I didn't even think of it as a comedy, but now that you mention it, yes, that fits. I thought you were going to pull out Shrek on us.
Get the fuck out of here!
I mean,
Who do you think I am? Shrek. Shrek wouldn't even make my top 1,000.
Are you ripping me? Are you ripping me?
No.
Come on, you have it in your pile there, don't you?
No.
Really, you don't? Not at all.
Wait. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. It was under something good. No, I'm sorry. No, Shrek is fine. It's fine. I've only seen, I think, the first one. I didn't see the other 7.
I really don't need to see the other ones. I mean, yeah.
That's kind of what I thought, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
But the first one was cool. I'm not sure if that one would hold up well. I wasn't particularly blown away back then. But
they made a fuck ton of money though.
What?
They made a fuck ton of money though.
Oh yeah, well of course. Well, by that logic,
yeah.
McDonald's is the best restaurant on earth.
WWE's best wrestling company.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, but like, well, Shrek is just the third time that Mike Myers is using his Scottish characters for monetary gain, right? Like, so I Married an Axe Murderer, not counting Saturday Night Live all the times he did it.
Right.
So I Married an Axe Murderer. He played his own father. Then you go to Austin Powers and he plays Fat Bastard. Then you got Shrek and he's doing the same thing. Which Shrek was originally supposed to be Chris Farley, I understand. And he actually recorded a lot of lines for it.
And then he died, right?
Yeah, and then he died. So
way to fuck it up, Chris.
Yeah, thanks a lot, pal. Rather than kind of like try to piece the movie together with what they had, they just decided to go in a whole different. They just told Mike Myers, "Hey, come in and do Fat Bastard." So he did, and the rest is history. And all these billions of dollars later.
Did you like Austin Powers? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh yeah, no. The original Austin Powers, yes.
Goldmember's funny.
I think they're all funny, but what you'll notice is the first Austin Powers they were just making what they wanted to make, a James Bond parody, and it was very funny, and it was fresh and different from what was going on at that time, 97. Well, once it became like a cult hit, like on video, because it made a lot more money on video with rentals and stuff back when those were a thing. By the time The Spy Who Shagged Me came out, they were self-aware. So it was more like they were winking at you like, you guys know this is funny, right? This is funny. And then the third one was even more ridiculous. Like they just kept throwing stuff at the wall, and a lot of it wasn't sticking, but so much was thrown at the wall that it was funny enough that we liked it, right?
Yes.
But if you go back and look at that first one, I think a lot more of those jokes land the first time.
Very true.
And by the third one, there's just like you're just inundated with jokes, and you're just like, okay, it's funny.
Starbucks Tower. I mean, that's hilarious. Hard Knock Life. I mean, there's pure gold.
I had to pop a cop because he wasn't giving me my props in Oaktown. No, I heard that somewhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are some gems in there, but I do agree that the first one was kind of under the radar, and then everyone's like, "Oh, you got to watch." It's like, I mean, kind of like Napoleon Dynamite, only they didn't make any more.
Right. Yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite is one of those movies where like, oh, this is fucking dumb. But you go back and watch it, and you're going to quote some lines from it. You're going to find some stuff, like you said, that you didn't see the first couple times. To me, that's one that's I wouldn't say under the radar because a lot of people do like it. I don't know how well received it was by the critics, but it's dumb, but it's funny.
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite's one of those ones where you're like, I get it. I do get it.
Art house comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of that, I don't know if I have it here, but like Wes Anderson is kind of in that similar thing with like I would have had to hold up the Royal Tenenbaums.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
Yep.
Okay. But you could go with any of it. Rushmore, Bottle Rocket that's actually probably his most normal movie, like of all the artsy movies that he does.
Yes. Rushmore was good though. I like Rushmore.
Rushmore is really good. But it still has enough of his weirdness in it that I think it's like a little slightly less accessible than Bottle Rocket. But but yeah, like I really liked like the first set of his films. Like his movies are all pretty good, but I really like the first four. Like with The Life Aquatic, I think that was one of the ones with Bill Murray. Like, and he just adds people to his cast. It's like a snowball. Like he just keeps picking up people, and then they just show up in everything.
I love that movie, by the way.
Yeah, that's those are all great. So if you haven't seen Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, Life Aquatic, and those are like 4 movies that are completely different yet very similar tonally, but the subject matter is like completely different. Fantastic
like
Mr. Fox is good too. Talk about animated movies.
Like Woody Allen has that same kind of style too with his movies.
Right. How are you on Woody Allen? Are you no. Sometimes take or leave it?
Depends. Depends on mood I'm in.
Take the money and run or leave it?
That's what you did there.
Yeah. Woody Allen's good, but I don't think I ever find myself saying, you know what, it's time for a Woody Allen film. I
wouldn't go out of my way to watch it, but if it's something came on TBS or whatever, I might sit down and give it a shot. But yeah.
Right.
It's just type of humor.
Yeah, exactly. So one more animated film. Well, it doesn't have to be the last one. It's just the last one I wanted to bring up. But especially in light of the recent passing of Ed Asner, how are you on this one?
Love it. Yeah.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
It is. It really is.
And this came out in 2009, I believe.
Wow, it's been that long?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
I think.
Here I am saying, hey, how do you like that new Wedding Crashers movie from 2000?
Those kids, Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn.
Oh, yeah, they got potential.
Oh shit! I almost would have forgot about that if I didn't say that. Yeah. Everyone loves. I'll get back to Up in a second. Everyone loves what's the movie? Swingers, right?
Yes.
Like that launched those guys' careers, and they've both gone on to huge things in their own respective ways. Whether it's Jon Favreau more so behind the camera.
Oh, he's a fantastic director.
Right.
Yeah.
And Vince Vaughn in front of the camera. So
yeah.
Wedding Crash. But the movie I think that is just as funny, if not funnier than that's basically the same kind of movie, if you like Swingers, is Made. Have you seen Made?
I have seen Made. Yeah.
That is fantastic. P. Diddy's in that. Great. Check Made out if you're a Swingers fan.
I love Vince Vaughn. Like The Breakup is one of my all-time favorite movies with Jennifer Aniston.
Really, all-timer. The Breakup made an all-timer.
Dude, there's so much funny shit, dude. Like the fucking singing a cappella and shit. Come on, dude. That's funny.
I think Vince Vaughn has the ability to elevate material.
Agreed.
But unfortunately, some material can only be elevated so far. I'm not saying that as a knock on on that movie specifically, as much as like a lot of the movies he has done that aren't involved with Jon Favreau. Like we know that Vince Vaughn has been in some bombs.
Yes. Yes, he has.
But yeah, I remember thinking when Up came out, I think it came out, if I'm right, it came out in 2009. It was like the same year as The Hangover, the original Hangover. And I thought Up was a lot funnier than The Hangover, to be honest. Like joke-wise, even.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about just the quality of the story and the writing and stuff like that. I just thought it was funny. It was just funnier, straight up funnier. And even though it did get its due and people do love it, like as a comedy, I think it's underrated. Like just how funny it is, especially because they tear your heart out right in the first scenes.
Yes, they do.
Of the movie, and then they spend the whole movie like cheering you back up.
Well, I mean, that's a Disney staple. That's what they've done since Bambi and shit like that. So yeah,
right. Yeah, so definitely that's going to be up there on an all-time comedy list. How about some genre comedies? Now, like we could mix comedy with other things. Apparently, you skipped all of them. That can't even be possible.
Before we get into that, come on, Will Ferrell, really, Sonic?
You had to at least have seen one just to know you want to skip the rest.
I mean, how do you not love Ricky Bobby? Come on.
Yeah.
Talladega Nights is
Your last,
one of the best movies ever.
That's great. Like, I mean, I can understand Will Ferrell fatigue at this point.
Yeah, Step Brother too.
Yeah, there was a time there where everybody wasn't sick of him yet.
True.
So
true.
And he's done a lot of funny stuff too. But I think Will Ferrell's comedy generally comes from, you know how I was saying how like Charlie Day just shrieks all the time, and
Yeah.
Will Ferrell's comedy comes from saying a normal phrase but like yelling it and enunciating it. Like that's his entire comedy style. It's like, I drive a Dodge Stratus. Like, okay, that, it's funny because he yelled it, but the sentence "I drive a Dodge Stratus" is not necessarily funny, right, in and of itself. So
he was great in Elf, though. I have to watch Elf every year.
Elf is good. Someone made a comment earlier in the Next Level review that made me want to, like, it was like an Elf reference. That wasn't you, was it?
Probably not, but he's an angry troll is one of my favorite lines that I use all the time.
Oh, that's what it was. It was who came? John Enright came in the chat and said, "That's the vet. I know him.
I know him. I know him."
That's what it was. Let's see. So like maybe some sports comedies. Do you have any particular favorite sports comedies?
We already covered.
You can always go back to.
Rocky was another good one. Rocky with you. Sports comedies. Talladega Nights was one of them.
I guess that's a sport.
Slapshot was good. I mean, that's usually everyone's go-to.
I like Slapshot.
Brewster's Millions was good for me. Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, you didn't like that?
I don't know about I don't know. It doesn't come to my mind when I think of. That's the one where the kid had an arm surgery and got some kind of weird super fusion pitching arm.
Yeah,
he pitched for the Cubs.
100 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love that? Sandlot. I mean, it's
Sandlot
sports, but it's got
it's kind of based around a sport, right?
Yeah.
Spaceman has one. The Bad News Bears, the original.
Yes.
I'm not going to go for all of them, but the original was an excellent film.
Original is very good. Yes.
He seems to like the Goon in the sequel. I thought they were okay. They're okay. They're not, but he's Canadian, so it's hockey.
Fair.
He's got to.
Well, that's
he's got to. He's got to love it. If he doesn't love it, he's going to have to speak to the authorities. Have a frank conversation in a small cell. Here's one I like that's a little bit Necessary Roughness. You remember that one?
Yep, I do remember that one.
And then you remember when they shittily remade it into The Replacements with Keanu Reeves?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, but the original is the best.
Original is good. The Longest Yard, both of them I actually like.
Is the first one a comedy? I guess it is.
Ish.
Or is it?
Kinda.
But it isn't though. I'm not going to put it in a comedy list.
Okay, that's fine.
The second one obviously is.
It was, yeah.
Second one obviously is. The weird extra racist Steve Austin in that one.
That's right.
Like that? So.
Major League. Major League has to be on your list, right?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't put it on there, but yeah, that's a classic on there too. I didn't write a bunch. I was like, this is that thing where it's like, I'm gonna forget.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, people love Major League. I think Major League's pretty good. Trying to think, what else was there?
Bull Durham is kind of ish.
Not one of my favorites, but it's a good movie.
Yeah.
That's one of the movies where you could really see that Kevin Costner is a bad actor.
Yeah.
Like, he's just really bad. Like, he's definitely a famous and popular actor, but not that good.
He's good JFK.
Yeah.
I think it's 54 hours of a movie, but yeah.
I think if you write around Kevin Costner, he can be good.
But he's one of those guys you're like, oh man, I love Kevin Costner. Like, he's always got like a cool character. Now he's like the mentor kind of character or whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, I like him in the he's not in Marvel. He's in DC, right? Or was he in Marvel? No. He was in Superman, right?
Yes.
Reboot.
Yes, he played Pa Kent.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the dumbass that walked into a tornado for a dog.
Hey, I love that dog. I love
that movie. Was stupid, bro.
I would do it.
Sonic says White Man Can't Jump. See, that's another. I never would have remembered that. It's such a great movie, but I would have forgot it.
Love that movie. I used to be able to quote that fucking movie.
Oh, so Billy Hoyle.
Yeah. Good job, Sonic.
Thank you, Sonic.
The mustard's off the hot dog, you big corn-fed mule.
Let me
Love that movie.
let me just scroll back up and see what else Sonic has said.
Right.
South Park, the movie. Yes. Definitely. I remember that. That was like, I remember that was a thing where I went to the theater with a group of friends and we were theater hopping.
Yeah.
And we got into that one. And then my girlfriend at the time had to go to the bathroom or something. So she went back out and then they tried to cart her, when she went to go sit back down. So she had to leave. And like they came and told me. And I was just like, bye. Dude, this was opening night, bro. This place is packed. I ain't leaving. So
that was a good movie.
Yeah,
that's why I said
that one
earlier.
I know
Wildcat.
Canada Spaceman asked earlier about some of the let's just say the urban comedies. I don't want to get canceled.
Yes.
So
go ahead.
Yeah. And he like he was asking about Fear of a Black Hat, but we can't talk about Fear of a Black Hat without talking about This Is Spinal Tap.
True.
So how about This Is Spinal Tap, Rob? What about that?
I've grown to like it as I've gotten older. I appreciate it more now than I did, 20 years ago. So yeah, I'm cool with that. That's a movie I can watch again.
Yes, it's it kind of invented an entire genre of television that everybody likes. The sort of it's like we wouldn't have had The Office or any of those type of shows without it.
I love that.
Yeah, just that kind of stuff.
Sonic had mentioned earlier, I'm going to get you, sucker. Were you a fan of the black comedies?
I was going to. Hey, black comedy means something else. That's where it's not supposed to be funny, but it is. Right. I say urban comedies to make the distinction and to not get canceled.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to get you, sucker. Love it. Don't Be a Menace. Love it. They kind of stopped being funny after that, like the Wayans brothers did.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I know they're all funny men, but
for
whatever reason, the material doesn't always, but maybe it's the pressure to create that's just not possible. I don't know. I know when I sit in the theaters and see Scary Movie 2 and then the credits are on and like I see that there's like 6 names in the writer's list, that's never a good sign. Yeah. Just too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes.
That's true.
But yeah, Fear of a Black Hat is a very funny version of Spinal Tap, the rap version. So if you've seen that, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go check that out if you like Spinal Tap or that kind of parody humor. Yep. Let's see what else. See, Blank Man. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that's an all-time classic, but I do quote stuff from it. I can't completely leave it out. Let's see, what else do I have on my list here? I think I'll just throw in, like right in the middle here, I'll just throw in some of my personal movies that people like that I'm not really a fan of.
Okay.
And one of those is up on the wall there, and that is Caddyshack. I do not think it's as funny as people seem to think it is.
I agree.
And why do they think it's so damn funny?
I don't know. Maybe because of who's in it. I mean, the star power they have. But I don't get it.
Should be the funniest movie ever, but
should be. But yeah, I agree.
Apparently not. Nope. And I haven't seen all of them because one was enough, and I stopped. But Police Academy.
Oh, the first one's great.
Great.
Yes, I love the first one. I do.
And you saw this last time when?
No, 30 years ago. But...
Okay.
All right, so hits in the fucking first 5 minutes. That's probably why I liked it so much.
All right. Hell, so did everything from the 80s. And it could be PG. Matter of fact, one of those up there, just one of the guys. That's a...
Yes.
I think that's a PG movie, and it,
Yep.
That's a good movie too, by the way. I always like that one.
Actually, it is a good movie.
It's okay, everyone. He's got tits. So
I mean, you didn't like Police Academy at all, like at all. Nobody, nothing. You didn't like the who was the old guy that played in that? Played the Commandant or whatever. I thought he was funny.
I don't know, but I think the movie has gained a following over time because of sheer persistence.
True.
Like
That's true.
they just kept making them. So it's sort of like stood the test of time in people's minds. Like it's become iconic. Like I remember the characters, but like Tackleberry and what I mean, like you know those because the shit just never went away.
Yeah.
But I don't really think the first one is very good.
Steve Guttenberg was another one of those guys that just kind of made a shit ton of movies like during like a 2 or 3 year period, and then you never really heard from him again. So
now 3 Men and a Baby, which also on the wall. Now that is 3 Men and a Baby is great.
Yes, I agree.
But in spite of Steve Guttenberg, no, just kidding. Sonic says Howard the Duck is overrated. I don't think anybody's ever called Howard the Duck overrated.
No,
I don't know who Sonic has been talking to. I thought everybody universally hated that film. Am I wrong? Maybe I am. I don't know, but
I kind of liked it. I mean, I liked it as a kid. I wouldn't go back.
Right.
But I mean,
you have to recognize now when you watch it that it is complete trash.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's no way around it, except for it had cool visual effects at the time. But what do you expect from a George Lucas project? You think he's going to let his movie have shitty special effects? So,
true. No, that's true.
So like the Dark Overlord, cool scorpion monster thing was really cool at the end. But what's his name? Jeffrey. God, what is his name? That's in all those movies. Fuck, I forget. But yeah, he's always like good in those weird, creepy roles. But yeah,
he was in Ferris Bueller, right? That same dude.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember his last name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Jeffrey. Someone knows the chat. What's his name? Jeffrey something. I know it. I just forgot it. It's hard when you know so much because you can't remember it all at once, right? Like it bottlenecks.
Yeah, you got to dump some memory out sometime. Short Circuit. The Spaceman just brought up. That's a decent movie.
Short Circuit's decent. Short Circuit 2 is also decent in a different way. In that way that sequels are just more like comfort food than a real gourmet meal.
Pretty much. That's fair.
Who
Framed Roger Rabbit? That's one of the cartoons we didn't bring up earlier.
Ooh, yeah, because it's not really a cartoon, right? It kind of is. Like
kind of is, but like
cartoons in it.
You think it's a kids movie, and you bring your kids to see it, and you're like, oh, shit, yeah. Whoops.
Yeah.
My dad did. My dad took me to see it.
Hey, it's PG. How could he know?
That's true. But I loved it. I loved it as a kid. It was good. It's still a good movie.
No, it's great. It's great. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of those. You do not appreciate the magnitude of what you're seeing when you saw it,
right?
Because you saw like Disney and Warner Brothers on screen for the first time together ever, and you would not see that ever again.
That's right.
You won't see it ever again.
Yep.
Probably. It's
unless Disney buys them out.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough. They don't. I don't think they want to get bought out at this point. So, it's like, but that movie was so monumental in its term, and like they'd done the mix of live action and art cartoons before, like Mary Poppins, whatever.
Yep.
But this was like on a whole other level. There was like so many frames of animation drawn by hand and redrawn and everything just to make this shit it's a visual masterpiece. It's funny, like to our point about talking about comedies. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Just this, like I can't say enough good things about it. Christopher Lloyd in that movie is absolutely phenomenal.
He's perfect for that role.
I just that's such a great film. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Yeah, it's one of those ones that's like you appreciate that more as you get older, but even as a kid, you just like it for the different reasons. You just like it because you're seeing cartoons. Anytime you see cartoons as a kid, you like it. You don't think about how, anything else. It's only when you get older you start looking, past the surface and into what the content really has to offer. So,
And that's how I was with The Color Purple too.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Appreciate it more as I got older. It's a fine comedy.
Yes, I think and it ages just as well. Like I think especially now it's more delicious and relevant than ever.
That's right.
Speaking of delicious and relevant, that's a good segue into.
I like how I keep feeding you these. It's like fucking softballs, man. You're knocking them out.
Man, I'm telling you, and it's all working out because I had no plan. I was panicking.
Either. Yeah, I don't ever prepare.
I was like, I have a pile of movies here, and I've got a list of movies here, and I'm like, how am I going to organize this? I can't. I have no idea. And then I was like, and it's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be a free form. We're not going to sit here and rigidly talk about this like a top 10 list. Like, we're just gonna talk about it. So how am I ever going to remember all this stuff? But it's just so naturally flowing one thing into the next and the segues.
I keep the train rolling.
Right. So here's a movie that, because of how it ends in tragedy, you forget, because it's so powerful ending wise, that you forget that 95% of the movie is a very funny comedy. And the reason I segue into this is because this movie is just as relevant now. It's more relevant now, maybe, because so much time has passed. Do you know where I'm going with this, or are you anxiously awaiting to see?
No, I'm waiting with bated breath. Oh shit! Yeah, dude, absolutely.
How funny is this movie right up till the end?
Very funny. Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%. And
Spike Lee's a hero of mine in terms of like his storytelling and like his visual style. Like it's almost like I would compare Spike Lee visual style to like the closest thing you can get to like seeing a book as a movie. Because with the book, you fill in a lot of the details,
right.
But he uses like literary techniques on screen somehow in a lot of ways, to accentuate his messages. So I've always loved that. And watching Do the Right Thing was a revelation in terms of like, look at all these crazy characters and look at how they're interacting, and just look at the way everything looks, and the sound of it, the music, that he usually gets his dad to do the score for his movies, and I'm pretty sure that this was no different. And then of course, at the end of the film, you see a kid getting choked to death by the police.
Yeah.
And what's more 2020 than that?
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like nothing has changed. He was saying this back then and you didn't listen. You were afraid to go to the movie theaters to see this because people might riot.
Yeah.
Yep. We are taking extremely slow strides in progress here, people. We've got to do better than this. He's tried to tell us. And that's why when movies like this is not a comedy, but it's funny in a sense that it exists, because if you remember that movie Crash that came out around 2005,
yep.
Like all this was like 2 hours of white people monologuing about their problems. And I'm just like, bro, if you want to talk about race relations, Spike Lee already did this like a long time ago.
Yep.
So, but besides all that social commentary, super funny movie.
It really is. No, it really is. Absolutely right. And you are spot on about Spike Lee. I love all his movies.
Even the less good ones are still like, there's something you can get from them, like just visually, artistically, there's something to, and a lot of the movies are funny. Like he's got a good sense of humor. Yep. So a lot of the movies could be counted as comedies, really. Like School Days is kind of debatable. Oh, it's a comedy, but it's funny enough. You could, but yeah. And like, I wouldn't call He Got Game a comedy, but there's a lot of funny stuff that I quote from it all the time.
That's a great movie. Yes.
Yeah. Let's, what about, some horror comedies? Like, cause that's a genre that automatically on the surface you think, well, this doesn't mix. But there have been a handful of times where it kind of works. Now, usually you have to give up a little bit more of one or the other to make it work.
True.
But it has worked. Are there any that you can think of that you particularly are a fan of?
I mean, I think Scream can be, Scream franchise is pretty funny with the later movies. But I'm not really a big horror comedy guy, so That's really all I can think of at the top of my head.
How about this?
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that as a kid.
Now this would have to be like more in the comedy, less in the horror.
Right.
But it's a monster movie essentially, about a small town that's attacked by worms. But you know, to break it down simply, but it's got a great cast: Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, and it's got a lot of funny shit in it. A lot. Like Kevin Bacon is super funny in this movie. And if you haven't seen it since you were a kid, check it out. I'm sure it's on one of these streaming services somewhere. It's got to be. So I would definitely give that a watch.
I'll go back and watch it because it's been a long time since I've seen it. I thought Arachnophobia was funny too.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Even though I hate spiders.
Yeah, everybody remembers John Goodman's like exterminator character, right? Like, that was a big deal. Here's a little bit of a curveball, but if you think about it, if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. Okay. Return of the Living Dead.
Yep.
Hilarious. Also completely gross and very scary.
Yes.
This is one that I would recommend for anybody that's like, you know, around that it's getting to be closer to October now, and some people like to watch scary movies. So if zombies are hot still a little bit, not as hot as they were a few years ago, but still pretty hot. So if you somehow ever missed Return of the Living Dead, it's like a parody slash sequel to Night of the Living Dead, in which they treat that as if it was real. Yeah. And it opens up like right off the bat with one of the greatest title cards ever, where they say like, I don't know the verbatim, but it's something to the effect of like, this is all completely true. None of the names have been changed to protect any of the parties involved. Like everybody's real names and companies' real names are used. And then it opens on a store that says like, you need a medical supply. And just super good. And I think if you're going to talk about horror comedies, you couldn't have a list without Evil Dead 2.
Sonic mentioned Evil Dead, yes.
Yes, and Army of Darkness, of course. Army of Darkness is it's become so quotable now that it's almost a cliche.
True.
Like Duke Nukem took all his shit just right from Ash, like pretty straight up. And they just made a game.
What about Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead's a good one too. Good horror comedy. I noticed that there's this weird thing in Simon Pegg movies he does where like there's this one moment that's like too serious for the rest of the movie. Yeah. And it tries to make you cry or something. And I'm like, man, why'd you have to do that, man? Just like, you know.
I thought it was underrated. I didn't expect, I don't even know what I expected when I went and watched it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny.
Pretty good. Shaun of the Dead, pretty good. What was the other one? Hot Fuzz, for the most part. Yeah. Pretty good. Like the whole, You ever fired a pistol while it's jumping through the air? You ever fired 2 pistols while jumping through the air? Yeah, that stuff. What's that other one they did? Like The End of the World or some shit like that. About the pub crawl. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't think I saw that, but I know what you're talking about.
Man, yeah, it's all right. Let's see. What else can I wrap up with?
It's Seed of Chucky. Yeah, Child's Play kind of got fucking dumb.
Yeah, they started definitely being. I would say with Bride and Seed and stuff, they definitely started going towards comedy. Like they knew what they were doing though.
Even Nightmare on Elm Street though, like Freddy Krueger had humor in the later movies.
Mm-hmm.
He always had some one-liners or something funny he would say when he killed somebody.
Right. So that's true. I wouldn't necessarily classify those as comedies, but I think that
they had comedy.
I think that Child's Play definitely you would classify those as comedies because they just got too outrageous. And then they kind of like.
Leprechaun movies did the same thing, right?
What'd you say?
Leprechaun movies kind of went down that same path too.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Leprechaun in the Hood, Leprechaun in Space. You know, it's hard to take those as like seriously, but
right.
Now there's lots of like action comedies and stuff. There's like so many that most of them are like most comedies have a little bit of action in them anyways. And a lot of action movies like to add humor to lighten the mood, so that while there's a lot of funny stuff similar to like what you're saying with Freddy and his one-liners, and you see movies like Die Hard or Lethal Weapon, and there's good humor throughout those, but I still wouldn't call them comedies necessarily.
Sure.
Okay, that's another one. I was about to forget it, but Lab Rat said it. Cabin in the Woods, horror comedy.
Yep.
Great horror comedy. Definitely comedy. But I'm gonna go with a little more specific for action comedy and go with martial arts comedy. And there's a lot of martial arts comedies to go with, but I think I'm gonna go with the king. It may be the king of all martial arts movies, and that's Drunken Master 2. Also known in the West as Legend of Drunken Master, if that's how you've seen it with New Line Cinema Distribution. But yes, this is like peak Jackie Chan physical comedy. The late Anita Mui, hilarious lady, also in this, and some of the best fight scenes ever committed to celluloid, 100% are in Drunken Master 2. So if you want to think something's cool and hilarious at the same time, I mean, you can't usually go wrong with Jackie Chan. A lot of his stuff is very comedy related.
Yeah, I mean, Rush Hour, obviously, Rush Hour 1 and 2. I mean, I liked him. I liked him with Chris Tucker. I like Bad Boys, which was kind of had comedy mixed in with action. That's a good franchise. That's usually what I think of when I think it. Like 48 Hours 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, 48 Hours. We already said Beverly Hills Cop when we were talking about Eddie Murphy.
Well, the third one kind of sucked, but
yeah, it still had a couple good moments though.
It did.
A couple good moments. The chat is saying Kung Fu Hustle. That's a good one.
Yep.
Shaolin Soccer. That's a good one. If you like those Stephen Chow type movies. I mean, there's just so many. Like as we're kind of winding down here, I guess. We've done quite a bit, and yet I feel like we still done nothing at all.
No, not at all. No, there's still a billion movies.
Barely done anything. Let's see if there's any. I'm just going to go down the list of anything that we may have left out. Mean Girls. What do you think about Mean Girls?
Nope.
Don't like it?
No.
Actively not a fan of it?
Not a fan.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Rob.
Sorry.
Come on. Mean Girls.
It's all subjective.
Well, I don't think that my father, the inventor of toaster strudel, will be too happy to hear about this. See? Right. You're already laughing. That was funny.
Yeah, no, that was funny.
Let's see. The Graduate, Dustin Hoffman. Pretty good. Oh,
is that
Office Space? Yes, Graduate is, but barely. It's a weird 60s era. They did things differently then. That's what they considered a comedy. Office Space. We almost got out of here without talking about Office Space. Yeah. The great.
That's a cult classic. Not everybody likes it, but
everybody does now.
Yeah,
because they all know it.
That's right.
Everybody that you know everywhere says, yeah. Even if they don't know what it's from, they know somehow. What else I got here? We talked about Ace Ventura. Sports comedies, Kingpin, if you want to count that as a sports comedy.
Kingpin is fantastic. And I'm a bowler, so yeah, Kingpin's fantastic.
Worth it for Bill Murray alone, as most things are. You'll find that Bill Murray, well, I don't want to say that, especially not later years, but I mean, for a while there, like with Stripes that you see there, and some other shit.
What about Bob?
We already talked about Ghostbusters. What's that?
What about Bob?
Oh my God, I almost forgot that. Yep. See, that's one of the greatest ever.
It is,
and I almost forgot it. That's the perils of doing a show like this, Rob.
That's right. That's right.
We were about to forget. What about Bob? God damn, that's got to be an all timer. That's got to be a top, at least 20 for me.
Yep,
at least maybe 10.
My wife loves that movie. Yeah,
there's not too much you could say wrong with that movie at all. It's
true.
It's damn near perfect. Now the opposite of that, I think this is a movie that this was ahead of its time simply because at the time people didn't really like it. And I can understand why. But now the way movies have turned out, like in general, the way they're generally seen and received now, I think people would be more receptive to a movie like this, and that's The Cable Guy.
Oh yeah.
Because that came out at the height of Jim Carrey-ness when they wanted a certain thing. And getting this getting this from him, I don't think it's what they wanted at the time, but a lot of movies are more like this now than they were back then. And this was like Ben Stiller directing. So you can definitely see how he transitioned into doing a lot of stuff that's like that, where it's just the whole, I'm going to be a straight man reacting to some awkward, lunatic.
Right.
Which
he was a lunatic.
Yes, and he was still very Jim Carrey. So I'm not really sure why the people didn't like it as much, but I don't know.
It's a little bit, I don't want to say darker, but I mean, it had kind of a darker tone to it.
It did. No, it did. It looked dark, if nothing else. Like the way they shot everything, the lighting was toned way down, so that everything seemed like very dim and dismal, and so. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, also like weirdly dark, but in a different way. Like the movie itself is very colorful, but there's a lot of, and I see you shaking your head there, so I'm going to think that you're not a fan of Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Not a fan of Pee-wee, period, at all.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, though.
No, I mean,
despite Pee-wee Herman.
TV show sucked, though. I couldn't get into it as a kid.
Okay, well, we're not talking about the TV show now, are
we?
We're talking about...
He was just over obnoxious for me. That wasn't my thing.
Well, somebody had to do it. If he didn't do it, someone else was going to put on a bow tie and jerk off in a public theater. A lot of these we've talked about. Ooh, Dr. Strangelove. That's an interesting, like a Kubrick comedy. How would that look? Well, we found out. It looked like that, and pretty funny, especially for its time, but weird. Oh, I had this one circled because I was pretty sure we were going to forget it somehow, but did we already talk about Clerks or mention Clerks, or have we mentioned Kevin Smith in any way? Have we somehow dodged Kevin Smith altogether?
Funny you mention that. I think Kevin Smith is behind the Fletch reboot that we talked about 3 hours ago.
Yep. I know he's a big fan of Fletch. So
he is. Yes, Kevin Smith movies, love them. Mallrats, Chasing Amy. Clerks was good. Clerks 2 was good. I like the second one. I can't go. Yeah, well, there was one I didn't like. Something about New Jersey.
Jersey Girl?
Jersey Girl. Yeah, didn't care for
it. You'll like it now if you watch it.
You think so?
Yeah, watch it with the wife.
Okay, I'll watch it with the wife.
But that was his version of trying to make like a family movie for the first time. Right. And again, it's not really what people wanted, I think, from him. Yeah. But there's a lot of good, funny jokes in that movie still. I think where he lost it was Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Yes,
That's where he started to lose his goddamn mind, and everything has been downhill ever since then, and he's no longer funny at all. Like, he's funny as a person talking, but not necessarily, like, in terms of writing anymore. Like
I'll watch his reviews of Star Wars. Like, I love watching him review the Star Wars, the last 3 movies, because he's so passionate about it. Mm-hmm. Other than that, his movies fucking blow now. But Clerks is right up there with all-time greats. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So quotable. And so amazing, how shitty everything was and still ended up being entertaining, right?
Yep.
No acting, no fucking budget, no color, nothing. But it's still like got so many great lines.
But Mallrats I actually enjoyed more. I thought that was a really good movie.
I think Mallrats it's a better produced movie.
Right.
It's a worse movie conceptually, but it's still very funny. There's still somebody, hey, would you like a chocolate covered pretzel? Yeah, I mean, you gotta love Mallrats, or just the schematics that Jay draws up of trying to see, you know what I mean, to take the stage out.
Yep.
Like those are funny. We talked about Will Ferrell. We didn't really talk about Anchorman, but
love it.
Yeah, it's pretty much in that was like peak Will Ferrell, right around that early 2000s era, right? So many good quotable things from that people are still quoting these days.
I love Lamp. Still my favorite quote.
Which one?
I love Lamp.
Oh yeah, I love.
Are you just looking at things around the room?
Yeah,
tell you love him? You killed him with a fucking trident. That was a movie I didn't appreciate at first either until I went back and watched it. I think I was hammered the first time I watched it. Wasn't really paying attention to it, but I appreciate it more as I went on later on.
You want to talk about influential? even if it's not your favorite, you can't deny like how many movies tried to rip this off after it became so successful. But we already talked about Ben Stiller. Something About Mary.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even Ben Stiller tried to rip it off. Which even sounds like it, like Along Came Polly. Like what?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but so much stuff from that. The Farrelly brothers. It's not their first rodeo, but yet.
Right. Have you seen my baseball?
Yes, that's a whole movie of quotable things. What else do I have here? City Slickers.
Yep. City Slickers was good.
Classic City Slickers, and like that speech he gives at the beginning when he's at like his career day for his kid or whatever, when he talks about getting older.
Yeah.
Like it's funny enough when he says it, but like as the stuff that as you get older and you go back and look at it, you're like, oh shit. Yeah, man, I think well, it's pretty much everything I've got. I mean, there's a few others, but I mean, we're already 2 hours in. I think people get the gist. We know what comedies are. We've heard of them. So
We really just want to do a show together. I mean, it didn't even really matter what we talked about. We just want to get together and talk. So
whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, and we did it, and we'll probably do it again.
Yep. Yeah, I'm free next week.
Oh, okay. All right. Permanent co-host. It's not a two-man show.
You said you want me the permanent co-host, so yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's really going to work, but I'll do it a one-timer for you, Rob.
Appreciate it.
So, yeah, but this was fun, and I still barely scratched the surface. So many great comedies, so many things to revisit or visit for the first time that
we should do a watch along with Color Purple. I think that'd be good.
I think the fans would really like. I think they would really like to pony up some premium. Once everything's on the realm and stuff, then we definitely want to have them $5 Color Purple tier.
That's right.
So
or just go to patreon.com/the Mean Media Group or Ben. You, me, and Ben can watch Color Purple and just break it down.
Okay, I think that's a deal.
I'll get on that. I'll message him when we get done here. I'm sure he'd love to do that.
All right. So yeah, I guess that's gonna do it. I've got nothing else.
No, I don't either. That was a good show. I appreciate you being here. I've always loved your work on the 500 podcasts that you're on every week. Next Level podcast with Big Ray covering NXT and the 3 Count. The Impact Attack with Colin Wysong, another underrated podcaster of HMG. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're on the Smack Attack.
Smack Attack, yes. Those guys think other life obligations are more important than the Smack Attack, and that's when they call me.
I think MacGyver's done about 3 shows this year. Yeah, he's usually got something else to do. But
every time I do a show, he's like, "I owe you one, mate," and I'm like, "I think you owe me like 4 or 5 now." But
yeah,
don't worry, I'll collect all at once.
Feel bad for Enright. He's always have to fucking carry the load. But what are you gonna do? I mean, MacGyver's Irish. Can't help it.
I can't say that too much either, because I've had to cover for Enright when he felt like he needed to go on his little family vacation that he takes every year. Woo. Yeah. All right. Whatever, pal. I'll talk about SmackDown.
Yep. Well, at least you're doing a good show. SmackDown's probably the best show right now.
Shit.
I don't know how you watch Impact.
I barely.
Yeah.
And if you didn't hear my promo I cut on this last episode of SmackDown, then go to the VOD and watch the archive and listen to me cut a 2-hour promo while John Enright quietly sits there like a polite young man and takes in all the truth that I'm speaking about this shit company.
I think he was taken aback by that. Like, he didn't know what to do. Like, should I say something? Should I just let him talk? It got kind of awkward for a while. You were very heated. I will admit, you're definitely passionate when you love something and when you hate something.
Well, I'll tell you like this, Rob. When it comes to the WWE and me being like a fan, that's dead a long time ago.
Right.
So I'm really the reason I'm getting so hot and passionate is it's like on your behalf, because I feel bad for the people that really want to watch this stuff and like it, and this is what they give you.
Yep.
Like paying customers. Like, I don't like that. I mean, I look at this as we're doing this as a free show, basically, this show right here. And I feel, like
you both do.
guilty if I forgot some comedies to mention on this show. Like that's my level of, and no one's paying me for this, and I'm doing this for fun, and I'm doing this because it's a good time, and it's the reason I spent these millions of hours watching movies is so that things like this could happen.
Yep.
But they have an obligation to paying customers, and they refuse to do anything to move the, to move the needle or to create more business for themselves, even like more money for themselves. They don't want to do it. And I get hot thinking about, the innocence of the kids that have nothing to do with this, that want to like wrestling, that deserve better, and the paying adults that have been fans and they're looking for every excuse to get back into this, and they're just getting turned away at every opportunity. That's what gets me hot. As far as the WWE, they can fuck off and do whatever they want. I don't care. I watch New Japan if I want to watch wrestling. But I care about you guys, and that's where the passion comes from.
I mean, I stopped watching it, last year. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take my intelligence getting insulted every fucking week. And I've been watching, since 1988. I've been watching a long time. I've seen a lot of fucking shit, seen a lot of good stuff. What's happened the last 5 years is they rested on their laurels because they're the number one game in town. They think they didn't want to build bigger stars. And I know we don't need to get a wrestling fucking kick when we're 2 hours into a show, but they wanted WWE to be the marquee and not anybody like a John Cena, like who's probably the last of his breed. You'll never see a guy like that again carry the company and do fucking everything, working almost 24 hours a day. It's sad. It's sad that they're not trying to build those larger than life characters anymore. That's why I stopped watching, because it's just fucking, it's garbage, dude. It's Vince McMahon fucking, humor. And
they spend more time making excuses than they do writing shows.
Yeah.
And this is the guy that thinks that he makes movies. And it's like, no, you make No Holds Barred. Okay. But even that is better than what you've been making lately.
That's
right.
Still a classic. We got to watch that too.
Okay. Maybe that's the real watch along. No Holds Barred.
There you go. No Holds Barred.
But they spend more time making excuses. And so it's just kind of, I don't know. Now, and granted, I know it's not that simple, and I know there's like the thing is it's too big now. It's a juggernaut. There's no way that all this stuff can get wrangled and get under control. It's too many moving parts. I do understand that, but when you don't even see like the simple fixes and those things getting addressed, then you know that they have no interest in, even trying to like, right the ship. So, whatever. But making it all the way up till last year, you clearly put the time in. You should have jumped ship years before that. To be honest,
I should have, but I thought I was a lifer. Been watching it literally every Monday since fucking primetime was on. I mean, I watched every single episode of Raw. I watched all the pay-per-views. I grew up in Connecticut. I was a homer. Mm-hmm. And yeah, dude, I thought I would be, because I had a lot of friends that jumped ship years ago too. And I'm like, I'm going to hold the fucking flag, for wrestling fans. I'm going to watch it every week. But no, even me, who's a fucking lifer, I had to stop watching it. And I didn't think I ever would. It sucks, dude. It sucks. There's nothing redeeming at all. Unless you like Roman Reigns doing the best stuff of his career, obviously. But other than that,
his long epic career of under a decade. Yeah.
But still, that's the only thing that I would enjoy watching is stuff like that, because
you can get clips of stuff like that, and then what? Then the SmackDown doesn't get the numbers, right? So
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, but to tie it all back in, like even the worst comedies that we've talked about today, the WWE can't hold a candle to those.
No, not so. No.
So,
Vet, yeah. I appreciate being here, buddy. It was a fun show. Where can we find you on social media, and let everybody know where to find you?
Well, you can see it right there if you're watching us at Opinion Haver everywhere, all one word. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitch. You can follow me on YouTube. You can follow me on, you can't follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on TikTok, but it's a fool's errand because I deleted the app from my phone. I just want to take the name from everyone else.
Good job.
Opinion Haver is my brand because I have opinions. And you can, of course, as Rob has already pointed out, you can find me on pretty much 75% of the HMG shows at any given moment. But I'm on 2 of them for sure. Next Level Wrestling Review every Wednesday, and Impact Attack tentatively Sunday night, early Monday morning. Like instantly, as soon as it becomes Monday, we're already doing the Impact Attack. So that could change. So just keep that notification bell on.
That's right.
And subscribe and leave a comment and all the other YouTubers things that they say.
Are there any shows you haven't done yet? Have you done the locker rooms?
I haven't done the locker rooms.
You gotta get on. You gotta get on that.
Do I? I think they cover it, man. Like I think Ben does a really good job with the locker rooms, and he covers all the stuff and says a lot of the stuff that I want to say for the most part. And I would only be on there to just throw little checks here and there and like disagree with him where it needs to happen. But I, as far as the reviews and stuff, I think that's kind of where I belong.
No, I agree. I love watching you and Big Ray on Next Level and Impact Attack. You and White Song are great too.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
And like I said, I've always wanted to do a show with you because you and I have kind of the same sense of humor, and we have a lot of the same likes and dislikes. So I knew we'd click. There's a few awkward moments here and there, but it's the first date.
I don't recall any of those.
No, not at all. But I don't fuck on the first date, by the way. Just to let you know. Second date, most likely.
Yeah. Well, now with the 4 movie recommendations I gave you,
yes,
you should be able to fuck on any first date.
That's right. Guys, I hope you appreciate the vet being here because his time on podcast is very, very limited. He's not here that much, so it's always a treat when he comes out of the basement or in the basement. Where do you do your shows? Are you in the basement? Are you in the?
Yes,
okay.
In the basement. There's only one basement, and I'm in it.
That's right. We appreciate you being here, guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you for showing up. Thank you for participating. Canada Spaceman, Sonic. Who else we got here? Yeah, no, just you guys. Just 2 fucking.
I know we had Lab Rat earlier, and he came in with the big Cabin in the Woods score.
Christ.
So
I'm still a little bit pissed at Sonic for not liking Will Ferrell movies, but I guess I'll get over that.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, he's got just as many things to be pissed at you about, I guess.
That's fair. Color Purple. Everybody, guys, check out The Color Purple. One of the best comedies of all time.
Brilliant, genius, hilarious film. So
I'll be back next week with, I don't know, somebody. Maybe Jamie. Who knows? We'll see. I don't plan anything. If I get bored, I'll just call somebody. Hey, you want to do a show? Yeah, that's fine.
Call it in the ring, brother.
That's right. Until then, guys, appreciate the support. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.